to me. A name, a map, or a flag I see, a certain word, democracy.
We are going to make our country great again.
America to me.
Do you want a candidate who shares your values, or a candidate who has spent decades opposing your values?
A street, the grocer and the butcher, and the people that I meet.
My concern is whether America will wind up being embarrassed on the international scene.
In this country, people will have the right to love each other no matter what their gender is.
This is the same Donald Trump who led the insidious birther movement to delegitimize President Obama.
I think I would want something that would kind of emphasize having faith within each other as fellow citizens, and so possibly believe in America.
They tell us that the person who made the statements doesn't know much about foreign policy or nuclear policy or the Korean Peninsula or the world generally.
The race is on to elect a brand new, most powerful leader of superpower America. An individual who will have a chance to make or break its destiny. It's the race to the White House. The US presidential election primaries are heating up ahead of the national conventions, where the Democrats and Republicans will choose their frontrunners. And the two big opponents will slug it out in the political arena to win the presidential race later in November this year. But even before the race reaches the final rounds, it has already gotten ugly, and how, in the intra-party debates, leaving the old and the young to say, mind your language.
The most discouraging thing is I would call the uncivilized tone, especially in one of the parties that I will not name. We are used to having a little more civil discourse in the political arena, but I think in India also you've been seeing this, and around the world it's a little bit embarrassing actually. It is not only Donald Trump. If you watch the Republican debates, you will also see some very aggressive, rather unpleasant comments on the part of Ted Cruz as well, and on the part of Marco Rubio, who is now withdrawn from the race.
The question is this part of the silly season? It's called the silly season. Candidates make all kinds of extravagant promises which they cannot live up to. Or is it something that's fundamentally changing in America?
I think that this is an incredibly vital election, at least for my generation. This is the most important that we've seen. And I think it's really important to consider the rhetoric that's been spewed out by a lot of the Republican candidates and how it's been severely polarizing the country, and it's very worrisome to see. I don't think it's representative of American values and the country that I would like to see moving forward.
From Obama's "Yes, we can" to Donald Trump's "Make America Great Again," White House is witnessing the tumultuous change shaping up America's political discourse. And the presidential poll campaign of 2016 that has seen the rise of the multi-billionaire Donald Trump on its political arena is clearly the most divisive and polarizing election campaign that America has ever witnessed.
He's 58 years old, flamboyant. People love questioning if his white locks of hair are a wig. And he vehemently denies with his stinging tongue. He throws up ideas that revolve around hate and fear-mongering. Ideas that appeal to at least 9 million of his voters, but are vertically splitting his own party.
Donald J. Trump!
He's Donald Trump, the man who called Mexicans rapists and sought a ban on entry of Muslims to America. The man who seems to be the very antithesis of American inclusivity and pluralism.
Every day is a scary Trumpism day.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
But Mr. Trump, of course, has created a strong antipathy towards Latinos, even blacks, and definitely against Muslims. And now people in America don't always know a Muslim from a Hindu, for example. There have been instances when Sikhs have been attacked because people thought they were Muslims wearing turbans.
You ready for a commander-in-chief who will let our warriors do their job and go kick ISIS?
With his deep pockets, Trump today is symbolic of the somewhat old nativist tradition and racist undertones of American society. He currently has the support of around one-third of the Republican Party, with a support base mostly amongst old conservative whites. Many families are split politically to Trump or not to Trump.
My father is a Donald Trump supporter, and he actually espouses the anger that you see at some of these rallies where people will get very violent. They'll attack people who are protesting these rallies. And the discourse among those people is that for them, this country is going down the drain.
You actually end up having huge debates with your father, or are you avoiding him these days?
We don't have, we have healthy debates. Let's just say that. They do sometimes get heated, but he does understand where I come from as a Democrat. I understand where he comes from as a Republican. I do call him out a lot of times if he makes a statement that may be racist or sexist, quite like Trump. I would call out Trump if he made the same statements if he was in the room with me.
Why disagree?
Now, an increasing disillusionment over the years and disenchantment with Obama's policies has been seen as a key impetus for Trump's rise, particularly amongst the white conservatives. Obama, anyways, has been a figure much hated on the right, and Donald Trump's coalition includes die-hard conservatives as well as disaffected blue-collar Democrats.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Over the decades, American demographics have undergone transformation. The US of A is not as white as it used to be. Immigrants of varying races, Asians, Latinos, Afro-Americans have taken up jobs and added to the competition even as the economy slowed down, especially in the wake of 2008 recession. Trump has positioned himself as a candidate of grievances in these stressful economic times. But he chooses controversial remarks as a tool and mob mentality to bring out people's frustration with the Obama legacy. Violence in his rallies against those who disagree with his views is an oft-seen phenomenon.
Blue-collar whites who feel that they do not have the kind of economic advantages that they may have had 20, 30 years ago, they're very resentful, and he's tapping into their anger. But his rhetoric has been very divisive.
As far as, I mean, in my 54 years, absolutely. The civil discourse is unbelievable. I think he's appealing to a certain base that is disenfranchised. Again, it's unfortunate the rhetoric that is going on right now.
But, you know, as a Republican follower yourself, supporter yourself, is it disturbing, the narrative, the discourse, the language that is being used in these presidential campaigns?
Absolutely. There's only one. John Kasich has kind of risen above it and has been the adult in the room, but I don't know that he has enough support to, win the nomination.
The owner of several high-end businesses, real estate chains, restaurants, shopping malls, golf clubs to casinos, The multi-billionaire businessman Donald Trump's campaign so far has consisted largely of high-octane rallies as he has toured the country in his private jet and continues to make headlines for all the wrong reasons. From defending violence against women to seeking extreme punishment for women who choose abortion, the controversial Trump has targeted several high-profile women, of course, from Hillary Clinton to a Fox News woman TV journalist.
Honestly, Megyn, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that.
His remarks about women are quite sexist and chauvinistic. He mocked a reporter in full view of the cameras because the reporter is disabled. So, you know, he supports torture. He is all for waterboarding. What more do you want in a president, you know?
But Trump is not the sole villain. His sharp tongue is matched by his party opponents, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, who are currently trailing in the delegates list. The war of words got not just ugly but even personal at one point with this meme of Donald Trump's model wife, Melania. An old picture of Melania shot for the GQ magazine that showed her lounging nude with a caption that said, "Meet Melania Trump, your next first lady, or you could support Ted Cruz on Tuesday." Trump wasn't the one to take it lying low. He soon lashed back and threatened to spill the beans on Cruz's wife, Haiti.
I don't get angry often. But you mess with my wife, you mess with my kids, that'll do it every time. Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
We're both from Cleveland, so the Republican National Convention's in our town later in the summer, and it's going to be one of the craziest conventions you've ever seen as well. So
what's making it so crazy?
Well, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and the whole Republican side. And you also have interesting people on the Democrat side who are very different in their approach to things. So we've never seen the hostility between candidates like this before.
A year after its second consecutive election defeat, the Republican Party in 2013 released an autopsy report that concluded that to win the White House back again, the party would have to appeal to the youth, to women, and to minorities and blacks in America. Ironically, these are the very demographics amongst whom Donald Trump seems to be historically unpopular, so much so that Republicans themselves are forced to ask, how did the party get here?
I haven't made up my mind who I'd vote for in that case. I have two daughters, a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. One's a big Bernie Sanders fan and one's a Kasich fan, and they're both debating what would happen if Hillary and Donald got in there. I think that's one of those things that people don't necessarily want to think about, but are going to have to at some point in time, it seems like.
It is still a divided Republican camp. But what is sure is that the winner will make it ugly and personal for his Democratic opponent. Hillary and Bernie Sanders so far have had an aggressive campaign, but mercifully without profanities.
Text me on the day, I deserve a day. And don't forget the flowers that bring the birds away. Cause if you treat me right, I'll be the perfect guy. Buying groceries, buying what you need. You got the 9 to 5, but baby, don't be high. So don't be thinking I'll be home and making up high. I never learned to love, but I can find a hug. Sing along with me, sing along with me.
I'm going to miss President Obama and the legacy he's set. And I don't know if anyone's going to be able to uphold that.
In a few months, America will choose the leader who will succeed President Barack Obama. As the campaign trail gets ugly and messy in its discourse, the question is, will Obama pass on the baton to a controversial Republican or to Hillary Clinton, once his own formidable opponent and later a colleague? Will the world's oldest democracy get its first woman president?
A senator, a first lady, a secretary of state. Over the years, Hillary Clinton has donned several hats. She's the most experienced amongst the presidential frontrunners on administrative affairs and foreign policy, but has had her share of political controversies too. Though her personal life journey, as she stood with grace by the side of her philandering husband, then President Bill Clinton, has been fascinating and a narrative unto itself. But the big question is America ready for a woman commander-in-chief? Is America ready for a woman commander-in-chief?
I hope so. That would be wonderful. Yes, I hope so. I think she's had a lot of experience in the government. I think she is a very intelligent person, and I think she has the best interest of the people at heart.
And you asked my wife about whether America is ready for a woman leader. We think of Indira Gandhi, of course, and we think of other countries who have had women leaders. So we are ready to follow your lead.
It has not been an easy ride for the 68-year-old Clinton.
I need your prayers.
From Whitewater to Benghazi, she has had her share of scandals. She faces questions for using her personal email server for official classified work while running the State Department, as well as security lapses for the Benghazi attack. The 2012 attack on the US consulate in Benghazi in Libya that killed 4 Americans, including the US ambassador to Libya. And this happened while Clinton was Secretary of State. Regardless, it is her foreign policy experience and worldview that gives Clinton a dominant edge over the current presidential contenders.
I don't think it's necessarily that Hillary's a woman. I would say that my draw to her is the strength in her foreign policy experience, which is where a president has the most power.
Mrs. Clinton is not a single person on this earth who can compete with her efficiency. She has been what you call at the White House twice and Secretary of State again. And look at the Republican Party, they are fighting among themselves. And she is going to be our next president.
But Hillary continues to be under the scanner.
Great, okay.
And has a worthy opponent in her own party's Bernie Sanders, who has managed to arouse interest with several impressive wins in primaries. Though as of now, he still has to match up with the number of delegates and superdelegates.
When the white-haired, self-proclaimed Democrat socialist Bernie Sanders entered the contest last year, few thought he would be a serious contender to Hillary Clinton, one of America's most recognized political figures. The Sanders campaign have reasons to believe that they've already defied the odds. But while the discourse between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton has been extremely aggressive so far, mercifully, it has not been as foul as the debate on the Republican side.
Neil Cousins is one of the several dozen Americans who day after day choose to sit on silent protests on socio-economic issues right outside the White House. Cousins shudders to think of Trump being the next president of USA. His vote, he says, goes to Sanders.
I hope Mr. Sanders can get the election, but those of influence with all the money involved are causing a lot of problems for the people that line up to vote.
How do you think would things be if Donald Trump were to become president of America?
Well, that's a worst case scenario. We can't even imagine how bad things will be then.
Some profound differences which exist between Secretary Clinton and myself.
Sanders has aggressively taken on Hillary Clinton on the economic front in the debate so far.
Tell a lot about a candidate in the campaigns they run by how they raise the money they need to run those campaigns.
And 2.5 million more than Senator Sanders. So.
But both the lead faces have focused on inclusivity and pluralism, unlike the opposition divisiveness. The tone and tenor in the Democratic camp has not even been half as venomous as on the Republican side. And whoever has to face a possible Trump or Cruz as opponent knows their lives will be under the microscope, and the attacks will be rather unhealthy, in Hillary's case, misogynist too.
I know where she went. It's disgusting. I don't want to talk about it. No, it's too disgusting. Don't say it. It's disgusting. Let's not do it. We want to be very, very straight up, okay?
Oh, it's already pretty dirty. Trump has, and other Republican Democrats as well, have attacked family members, physical appearances of both women and family members. So, and that's just in the primaries. So after that, I think it's just going to escalate.
Going by current indications, the 2016 presidential poll campaigns are only going to get uglier and dirtier in the days to come. But this is not just a political struggle between the Republicans and the Democrats for power. In these times of economic crisis and global terror challenges, it is the very idea of America, the superpower, that will get tested in the race for White House. Here in Washington, D.C. with video journalist Kripal Singh, this is Smita Sharma for India Today.
The Modi government is planning to roll out special facilities for minority Hindus from Pakistan. Now, people belonging to the minority community of Pakistan staying in India on a long-term visa will soon be allowed to buy property.